Welcome back. I know I don't normally post the preview the night before. It's been a long time since I did that, but why not? No games on tonight. I've got the board all set up. It looks nice. Cats and rabbits haven't had a chance to ruin it yet, so why not? 14 games in the NHL's return. We got 4 starting at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, 2 a half an hour later, 3 a half an hour later, 2 a half an hour later. I will have 11 games on at the same time for a short period. So the NHL welcoming me back. And then we have a game starting at 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern, and then 2 more starting a half an hour after that. So it's a very full night. It's a busy night, but let's go through it. Starting at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, we have the Columbus Blue Jackets and the New Jersey Devils, the third of 4 meetings between these two. On November 24th, Columbus won 2-1, and on December 16th, New Jersey wins 6-3. The fourth and final meeting will be on January the 19th. Columbus is 11, 18, and 6. Their last 10 games, they are 3, 5, and 2. They're 11 points out of the playoffs behind Tampa Bay and Washington, who are tied in points when it comes to the wild card race. Columbus is 4 points ahead of the Ottawa Senators. So that's your bottom spot in the East is where the Sens currently reside. New Jersey, 17, 13, and 2 overall. They're 6, 3, and 1 in their last 10. So despite all the doom and gloom, for their last 10, the record's not bad. They're 3 points back of a playoff spot, again occupied by Tampa Bay and Washington. They're 2 points behind Carolina, and they're tied with Detroit in the overall standings. So for New Jersey, they're in the mix. I know they're underachieving thus far, but it feels like they're on the verge of getting it going. 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific start between Washington and the New York Rangers. This is the second of 4 meetings. On December 9th, Washington wins 4-0. The other meetings will be on January the 13th and January the 14th. So the Washington Capitals, 17, 9, and 5 overall. They are 5, 2, and 3 over their last 10. They are the number 1 wild card. They're 1 point behind third place Philadelphia, and again, they are tied with Tampa Bay, although they have the tiebreaker with Tampa Bay, so they're the first wild card. The Rangers, on the other hand, are 23, 8, and 1. They're 6 and 4 in their last 10. They are first in the Metro. They are 6 points ahead of the New York Islanders, 7 points ahead of Philly. And coming out of tomorrow night, depending on what happens, they could be as much as 8 points ahead of second place in that division. We shall see. 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific start between Florida and Tampa. Sadly, they only meet 3 times this year. They'll meet again February 17th and March the 16th. For Florida, they are 19, 12, and 2 overall. They're 5 and 5 in their last 10. They are 4 points behind the Boston Bruins for first. They are tied with the Toronto Maple Leafs, although they do not have the tiebreaker with Toronto. Toronto is the second team in the division, and third in the Atlantic is Florida. Tampa Bay, on the other hand, they're 17, 13, and 5, but they're 7 and 3 in their last 10. They're getting it together. They are the number 2 wild card in the East, but only 1 point behind Florida and Toronto. They are tied with Washington in points. So, yeah, it should be an interesting time in the Atlantic after the Christmas break. 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, the Ottawa Senators in against the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is the third of 4 meetings. Ottawa won the first meeting November the 8th by a score of 6-3. December 7th, it was a 4-3 win for Toronto. The fourth and final meeting will be on February the 10th. For the Ottawa Senators, they're 12 and 17 on the season. They are 3 and 7 in their last 10. They've really got to get things going because they're 15 points behind Tampa Bay and Washington for that final playoff spot. They are 4 points behind Columbus, the next to last team in the East. On the Toronto side, they're 17, 8, and 6 overall. They're 5, 2, and 3 in their last 10. They are second in the Atlantic, 4 points behind Boston and tied with Florida. So, fascinating matchup there. Be interested to know if people see this as potential upset for Ottawa or if like, no, Toronto's going to win it. 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific start between Boston and the Buffalo Sabres. This is the third and final meeting for these teams already. November 14th, Boston wins 5-2. December 7th, Buffalo won 3-1. So Boston's 19, 7, and 6. Their overall record's good. However, they're 4, 3, and 3 in their last 10, and I think they're winless in their last 3. They are first in their division, 4 points ahead of both Toronto and Florida, while Buffalo, not having that solid of a season, they're 14, 17, and 4 overall. They are 4, 4, and 2 in their last 10. They are 7 points behind Tampa Bay and Washington for those wildcard spots. They are 4 points ahead of Columbus. So for Buffalo, closer to Columbus and Ottawa than they are to the playoffs. This is not a recipe for success. Buffalo needs to win this second out of 3 against Boston and move on from there. 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific start between Pittsburgh and the Islanders. I'm wearing the Islanders because why not? This is the first of 4 meetings. These teams will meet again on New Year's Eve, so December 31st, as well as February 20th and April the 17th. Pittsburgh is 15-13-4 overall. They're 4-3-3 in their last 10. They are 5 points behind Tampa Bay and Washington for that final playoff spot. They are 2 points ahead of the Buffalo Sabres. So Pittsburgh, another one of those teams that's just on the verge of maybe, still being in the hunt for the playoffs or maybe falling out of the hunt for the playoffs. For the Islanders, they're 16-8-9. They'd be quite happy to knock Pittsburgh out of the race. They're 6-1-3 in their last 10. They are second in the Metro Division. They are 6 points behind the New York Rangers, 1 point clear of Philly. Philly, one of the 4 teams that is not playing on this schedule on the Wednesday night. 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific start between Detroit and Minnesota. Detroit won this matchup November the 26th by a score of 4-1. That was in Detroit. Now they're in Mini. The Detroit Red Wings 16-14-4, and since they beat Minnesota, things have kind of gone south for them. They're 2-7-1 in their last 10. They're 3 points behind Washington and Tampa Bay, and they're only 1 point ahead of Montreal. So the Montreal Canadiens right there on the heels of the Detroit Red Wings. For Minnesota, they're 15-13-4, and while both of these teams are 2 games above NHL 500, Minnesota's going in the right direction. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They're 2 points behind Arizona for that final playoff spot in the West. They're 1 point ahead of both Calgary and Seattle, so it is quite the race we're seeing going on out west as well. 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific start between the Carolina Hurricanes and the Nashville Predators. This is the second and final meeting between them. On December the 15th, Nashville won in overtime 6-5. Famous game. Ronta's been called back up. Do you start him here? It'll be Kochetkov. 17-13-4 record for the Canes. They're 3-4-3 in their last 10. They're 1 point behind Washington and Tampa for that final playoff spot. They are 2 points ahead of New Jersey and Detroit. So again, it is a dogfight in the East. Out west, you've got Nashville, 19-15 on the season. They are 7-3 in their last 10. They're the number 1 wild card in the West. They're 5 points back of Winnipeg for 3rd in the division. They're 2 points ahead of the Arizona Coyotes. So Nashville got a pretty comfortable spot in the playoffs right now, looking to make it more comfortable, and a win over the Canes would help with that. 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 Pacific start as well between Dallas and St. Louis. This is the third of 4 meetings between the two. On October the 12th, Dallas won in a shootout 2-1. On December 16th, it was a 4-3 overtime win for St. Louis. The fourth and final meeting will be on April the 17th. Dallas is 28-4 on the season. They're 6-3-1 in their last 10. They are first in the Central, but they're tied with Colorado and only 1 point clear of Winnipeg. So it is a real 3-way fight there. St. Louis is 17-15-1. They're 5-5 in their last 10. Things have gotten better under the new coach. Will it continue against Dallas? 1 point back of Arizona for that final playoff spot in the West, and they're 1 point ahead of Calgary and Seattle. So quite the fight we got going on there again. 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific start between Colorado and Arizona. These teams are getting to know each other pretty well. November 30th, it was a 4-3 overtime win for Arizona. December 23rd, a more convincing 4-1 win for Colorado. Now we're back in Arizona. Will Arizona win this one? The final meeting will be February the 18th between these two teams. Colorado's 21-11-2 overall over their last 10. They're 6-4. They're second in the division, but they are tied with Dallas for first, and they're 1 point ahead of the Winnipeg Jets. So nice cozy race at the top of that Central. On the Arizona side, they're 17-14-2 overall. They're 5-5 in their last 10. They are the number 2 wild card. They're 2 points back in Nashville, who are the number 1 wild card, and 1 point ahead of the St. Louis Blues. While being 5-5 in their last 10 has keep them 3 games above 500, it'd be good for Arizona if they started winning some games here and really putting some distance between themselves and teams like St. Louis, Calgary, Seattle, teams beneath the playoff line. 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific start between Winnipeg and the Chicago Blackhawks. This is the second of 4 meetings between them. On December the 2nd, it was a 3-1 win for Winnipeg. These teams meet again January the 11th as well as February the 23rd. Winnipeg is 29-3 on the season. They're 8-1-1 in their last 10. Really strong record for them. They are third in the division. Again, they're 1 point back of both Dallas and Colorado. They're 5 points ahead of Nashville, who have that number 1 wild card spot right now. On the Chicago front, playoffs, 10-22-1 record for them overall. They're 3-6-1 in their last 10. They're 15 points behind Arizona for that final playoff spot in the West. They're tied with San Jose that far out of the playoffs. 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific start between Seattle and Calgary. So this is the third of 4 meetings. November the 4th, it was a 6-3 win for Calgary. November 20th, it was a 4-3 overtime win for Calgary. The last matchup will be March the 4th. And I was thinking about wearing Calgary for this one, and I thought, well, they've won the first 2. We'll see. But yeah, for Seattle, they're 12-14-9. It feels like they're starting to turn it around. They're 4-3-3 in their last 10. They're 3 points back of Arizona, 2 points ahead of Edmonton, and this is where it gets interesting. Calgary's 14-15-5. They're 4-4-2 in their last 10. They have the same number of points as Seattle. The only real differentiation here is Calgary's played 1 less game. They have 34 games played. Seattle has 35 games played. That's why Seattle would be under them in the standings right now. But we know that you got to win the game in hand as well. So that should be a fun one. I'm looking forward to that. 7 Eastern, or 7 o'clock Pacific, I should say, 10 Eastern. Vegas in against the Anaheim Ducks. These teams have split the first 2. So October 14th, it was a 4-1 win for Vegas. November the 5th, it was a 4-2 win for Anaheim. Better times for Anaheim. Things have gone south since then for them. The 4th and final meeting between these teams will be on April the 18th. For Vegas, they're 21-9-5 overall. They're 5-4-1 over their last 10. They're second in the Pacific. They're 2 points back of Vancouver. They're 5 points ahead of LA. And of course, Vancouver isn't playing tomorrow, so Vegas could catch them. On the Anaheim side, they're 12-21 on the season. They're 3-7 in their last 10, so that's not great. They're 12 points behind Arizona for that final playoff spot. Again, not great. They're 3 points ahead of Chicago and San Jose. So there's a 3-team, if you want to call it a race, you can call it a turtle derby too, but there's 3 teams at the bottom of the West that seem to have separated themselves from the playoff picture, including San Jose, who are in against LA. That game starts at 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific as well. These teams have played once just a few days back on December 19th. LA won that one 4-1. These teams will meet again January the 22nd and April the 4th. San Jose is 9-22-3 on the season. They're 3-6-1 in their last 10. And again, 15 points behind Arizona for that last playoff spot, tied with Chicago at the bottom of the West. On the LA side, they're 19-7-4 overall. They're 6-3-1 in their last 10. But remember, LA's at home. They're better on the road than at home. So I wouldn't be surprised if San Jose keeps this one close. LA better be aware, because while San Jose's not winning games, they're still competitive in these games. There's still a lot of fight in them. So third in the division for LA, that division being the Pacific, of course. 5 points back of the Vegas Golden Knights. They do have games in hand on Vegas and Vancouver. They're 9 points ahead of Calgary, the next team in the Pacific division in the standings. And of course, Calgary, 3 points out of the playoffs. So pretty comfortable cushion for the top 3 teams in the Pacific. We'll see if that remains the case. Let me know your thoughts and your picks in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you have not done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. It means a lot. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas and Boxing Day too. Found all the deals for all the stuff that you didn't get for Christmas, because once it's Boxing Day, you're back to, hey, I can shop for myself again, right? But yeah, thank you guys so much for everything. I will talk to you again soon.